This is the sound of the back and forth practicing maneuvers every single day, trying to use certain objects to be able to reflect a bit of performance that is trying to be repeated, and trying to practice certain remedies so that every day it's possible to try to leverage the essence of practicing, so that in essence it's relevant to continue to elevate a status of a practical skill that is enhancing your business processes, your business music, your business focus, while trying to enhance your overall wherewithal in the business realm. What does this term relating to fostering practice have to do with, after all? It necessitates focusing on the essence of investing as a remedy, as a game that is a little bit less than taught commonly, typically in schools these days. So it takes a little bit of outside practice, it takes a little bit of nurturing, it takes a little bit of mentoring from places that are all picked up from little bits and pieces all over the place. It's also about somewhat developing an ear for these types of value as you consider to focus your mindset towards different items of value to be able to continue to develop processes that can harbor growth. So this practice has to do with leaning into the ability to be able to start small, especially in investing, making it into a game, developing differing investing games, continuously developing investing games by practicing on a day-to-day basis, by starting small, by leveraging the essence of investing in certain games that in essence you can play for free, or you can just start rather small. It's like playing with quarters, in essence, like on a video game, but you'll get returns. It needs to start from a certain way that stems from other collections of actions that are able to move into other collections of actions once you start to make the progress to be able to seamlessly sew them all together bit by bit. And it's also a matter of being able to focus on different aspects of each day at the same time, because each day there are different dynamics that are developing differing processes that you need to focus on, and unless you have continuous focus, it's not necessarily going to be able to be possible to be able to scale up your efforts. But you have to be able to have that focus that stays true, almost consistent, almost like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because that focus develops certain items where value is a keen thing that you're trying to focus on, and at the same time you're able to try to there's like 4 seconds out of the day, sometimes there's 4 seconds out of the day where value will pop up, and you have to be ready to be able to address that 4 seconds of value that pops up when it pops up, and see it as that, and be able to take the action, to be able to take notes of it, to be able to take the items that pop up for those 4 seconds and put them in your pocket and be able to use them for another time and another day, and as another skill for being able to play the game a little bit better in another time, another day, the investing game, and you're repurposing those skills into becoming a better investor. But at the same time, leveraging small investments, leveraging small fun games that are investments, investing type games, investing type methodologies, such as this game, such as this focus game, where you're collecting value in a mindset fashion, is something that you can scale up. And so it's a matter of starting small and practicing small and taking small steps in the short and the long term to become a better investor by taking the small steps, but not thinking about it in the quantity of other people that you see that are successful in the world, but taking the small steps, having the ability to take the small steps, having the mindset to take the small steps, wanting to go out there and take the small steps, because the game is fun. It's about the game. It's about playing the game. It's about playing all different types of investing games that you can start to continue to play. And by being focused on finding those different games, by finding that value in the world, are each individual games, because they all have processes, because they're all connected to pipelines of demand and different pipelines of supply. And so each of them that are connected to value opportunities typically are connected to differing stories, different narratives that connect pipelines of demand into pipelines of supply, and so that therefore continually makes the surface process for hunting for different aspects of value a continuous ongoing process that is almost never ending in terms of value hunting in the game of life, because you have to first connect the aspect of demand and find a market demand to begin with, and then connect it with supply. in essence, and having that focus sometimes has that keen understanding for when opportunity comes up to be able to follow through. And so in the same vein, to be able to scale up that mindset, we're trying to focus on something that we want to try to scale up. In today's episode, in essence, we're trying to focus on specifically something that I've touched on a couple of times in a couple episodes in the past called spiritual health. Spiritual health, spiritual health. And in many ways, spiritual health relates to spiritual finance. It all stems at the core of the spirit. It all stems at the core of a person. It all stems at the core of personal happiness and things of this nature. But ultimately, there's sometimes medical issues. And there's sometimes medical issues that have to do with spiritual health. Spiritual health, which has to do with alignment. It has to do with frequencies within the body and flow within the body, frequencies and flow within the body. Also, sometimes children, sometimes there are premature births and things of this nature, and there are frequencies that are aligned in a certain alignment that has to do with the nature of fluidity of the process of health, spiritual health. And so sometimes also, we have been condoning the promotion for fostering shelter animals in many ways in this country, in the U.S. these days. And then in other countries, I'm not sure exactly how the shelter system works necessarily, but we're working to find out. We're working to look little by little how all of the differing animals in the world are able to try to work together, in essence, somehow, from one country to another, and how they sort of correspond to different governments around the world. But at the same time, in the current day, I'm only consistently familiar with the shelter system in the present country that I am in, which is unfortunate that it has to do with many animals that have to die on a consistent basis. And so we're trying to work against that by being able to also connect humans and human beings and spiritual health and spiritual wellness as the demand industry. Speaking of talking about looking for different ways and different spaces in the world where you're able to connect supply and demand. But firstly, starting with the demand side and focusing on pools of demand, and connecting that with the supply to be able to try to help absolve the issue that is occurring with the demand pool to begin with, and then trying to repurpose the market and developing more marketing to be able to make the energy flow more efficiently so that the communication is a bit more apparent, so that it helps the flow and the fluidity from one side reach the other side. Almost like in a witchcraft sense, trying to play a flute that is magically playing to a certain sense of sensibility, like animal communication. It's a certain flute that is like a animal communication type flute that's like a little bit of a mystery, like wonder type of a spell casting type of a thing, like playing the flute that is sort of leading the guidance from one side of the tunnel to the other. But in this sense, we're starting with the demand side, which is the medical side, which is the spiritual health side, which is, in essence, the medical industry, which obviously is in demand for finding better solutions for things, which is also a demand side that has a lot of money to be able to spend. And the medical industry is a significant industry which has a lot of money that is spent, at least on the medical industry side, and it's sort of significant how much money, energy is spent on the medical side, the medical industry. It's significant. So what we're trying to focus on today is something that's even like a free solution to be able to pipe into the medical industry by trying to enhance on spiritual health, which is corresponding to the fundamental systems that connect all of the aspects of the human body and all of the cellular connectivity that goes from one aspect of a specialty from one side of the body to another, in terms of from systematization from one cell system to another. So that is all corresponding to spiritual health, and we want to try to connect that with the fostering of animals, the conceptualization of fostering animals. Fostering animals. We want to connect that with the fostering animals industry. Yeah. So that in essence, we're starting with the demand pool of the medical industry, and there's a lot of money being spent in the demand industry as well. So what we want to do is try to focus on spiritual health and be able to try to hopefully campaign a bit more to be able to try to get the fostering of animals to be able to pipe into the medical industry, to be able to try to absolve many problems, because that spiritual health is able to be absolved by spiritual alignment with spiritual animals that are known as well as fostering animals, fostering spirit animals, that in essence is free because you can do it on a temporary basis, and it's like renting the animals for free. But in essence, if they can go and correspond directly into the medical industry, that in essence can find a better purpose for both sides of the tunnel, to be able to find a better, hopefully, process to be able to continue to be a little bit more functional, hopefully, on both sides of the pipeline in an ideal sense. In an idealistic sense, it can somehow work out, and we'll try to put out some more messaging, and we want to kind of try to be able to put out more of a campaign to be able to try to bring some more awareness to the medical industry, because the medical industry is connected to a spirit that is connected to a person and a human being, ultimately, that is connected to spiritual health, which is trying to connect the spirit to all the facets of the functions from a human body. And so that therefore connects the ideation that we want to connect to the spirit animals that are on the other side of the stint of connecting demand to supply. And the supply of animals is significant, that is often too overpopulated to where they all often have to be disregarded and put down to sleep, and they are not ever going to return. And so it's unfortunate, because these spirit animals are able to feed into the pipelines of improving spiritual health for human beings. So hopefully we're able to bring more awareness to the context of being able to try to pipeline demand to supply in this episode, in one specific instance where we're trying to focus on that in terms of Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios, trying to bring more awareness to a brand at the same time, and also through some kind of a focus on this instance for developing more of a content awareness and a content distribution and content enhancement and scale ability, hopefully through the means of this specific campaign acknowledgement, by focusing on spiritual health within humans and the medical industry, and being able to try to repurpose it to a certain extent to the best of our ability, to be able to rent animals, be able to try to rent animals, which are even rented for free these days. And the medical industry has a lot of money. Even if the medical animals cost a lot of money, that remedy is not common, and it's ironic because they could pay a lot of money to be able to pay for these animals to be able to come across the line to the demand side with the money and the monetary energy, but the animals are free, so they can walk across that line if they are allowed to come up, and that gate is lifted from the medical side, and hopefully the flow could be as simple as that, without monetary energy needing to have a transaction be able to be sparked from the monetary energy necessity in this instance. So hopefully there can be a little bit of acknowledgement in this instance, because this pipeline of demand is hopefully able to benefit from spiritual health being able to be assisted through the spiritual animal sense of the spiritual health within spirit animals as well, before they are able to be put down and put down to die in many instances, because it's a sad industry. And it's something that we'd all hope to be able to try to turn around collectively, connecting humans with animals, and then therefore bringing about a spiritual animal by this connectivity, by both a spiritual health and a spiritual animal being connected and connectified into the future, because it's a necessity for all human beings to also be able to connect with their spirit animal selves, which is related to a greater self that has to do with entrepreneurship in the whole world, and having to also be able to absolve the human internal system to be able to try to improve the internal system, to be able to try to improve the external system, to be able to then try to improve the external world and develop the most philanthropy energy that is possible by continuing to leverage the pipelines of entrepreneurship from the internal sense, from spiritual health, and absolve and improve the whole medical industry at the same time, which needs a lot of improvement at the same time, through something such as spiritual health enhancement at the same time, being able to pipeline animals for free, to be able to rent them for free and not even need to keep them, so that they can be returned to owners at different times by helping them be fostered on a temporary basis, so that they can also help the medical industry, which costs a lot of money, and hopefully bring down some of the demand for spending a lot of money in the medical industry, because we are able to leverage spirit animals and be able to combine spirit animal with spiritual health in humanity and humans to be able to increase entrepreneurship into the whole world and continue to enhance this whole perpetual circular cyclical motion. Then therefore stepping forward to help all human beings, so that even more technology can be added to the spiritual health realm, such as little helmets like RoboCop helmets, for example, like the movie RoboCop, where he was a robot in essence, but at the same time he became a RoboCop and he did good for the world, and at the same time he had a helmet that led him down paths that showed him ways to be able to add value to the world, because he was adding to a greater ecosystem of the police force. And human beings have the same ability to be able to attach to helmets like this, is in addition In addition, to be able to try to scale up content for Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios, we would also love to leverage artificial intelligence to be able to scan the world for problems that need assistance in a certain way that also develops games from the gamification mindset of being able to tune AI to develop a gamification mindset to be able to develop for the AI to develop a game for the human who's wearing the human helmet, such as RoboCop helmet, to be able to tune into a certain game that an artificial intelligence helmet such as this could be able to make this type of a game, to be able to artificially intelligence develop this game for this human to play who's wearing the helmet, to be able to then walk around and be able to play a game and then therefore be able to influence philanthropy energy and to be able to continue to just play a game and go outside and, like, for example, if you're kicking a soccer ball, it tells you the direction to go kick a soccer ball, and then it goes and tells you a pack of kids that are behind a certain neighborhood school that would love to play soccer because they don't have a soccer ball. Maybe they can't even necessarily afford a soccer ball. So you bring them the soccer ball and you get them the ability and the mission for them to play soccer for 30 minutes because you've just donated that activity and you've added value to their life and their community, and that therefore that value will resonate onto other people that will then buy them a soccer ball. For example, that's a small example of a game for change. That's a quick game for change that can happen within 30 minutes, and that's something that can happen from artificial intelligence combining with games for change, combining with the ability for all humans wanting to play these games for change and connecting with our spirit animals and our ability to be able to connect with nature through spirit animals, and the ability for also the connectivity to spiritual health through the global philanthropy energy grid, also through spirit animals and entrepreneurship, and a global philanthropy energy grid that connects all human beings to electricity. And a downside to money and monetary energy. Money and monetary energy is something like having a car and somewhat having too much monetary energy as opposed to moving away from monetary energy specifically because it's a little bit toxic these days in this day and age. Moving more towards philanthropy energy, like the RoboCop helmet example, for example, is more like moving in the direction of philanthropy energy, whereas moving in the direction of monetary energy is more like moving in the direction of selfishness. And it's similar to having a car. It's like having a vehicle. If you have certain amounts of money, people want to play in that vehicle. They want to jump in your vehicle. They want rides. They want to ask you for requests. They want rides, and then you have to have maintenance for the vehicle. That's what having money is like. Just maintaining money for oneself and one's money life. For example, it's money. You have to continue to pay people with money. You have to continue for people to be paid, and then you have to continue to maintain that, and you have to continue to maintain the vehicle. You have to fix parts of the vehicle. You have to pay people to continue to be able to continue to maintain that circle of more or less a selfish process that has to do with a money vehicle, specifically money vehicle process for just trying to make monetary energy to continue to improve one person's life, as opposed to the opposite, which is like the RoboCop helmet, which doesn't necessarily necessitate a lot of money at all. It just necessitates the human ability to be able to generate philanthropy energy, and that combined with monetary energy is the greatest force for the greatest ability to generate the most philanthropy energy and the most impactful philanthropy energy and the most philanthropy energy impact generating perpetual energy, philanthropy energizing, global philanthropy energy grid, developing process and developing global developmental global philanthropy energy process that is possible in a perpetual sense. Looking forward into the future. Thanks. Looking forward into the future. Thanks again, Dinky Tech. Bye. Peace. Bye. Dinky Tech Change for Games. Dinky Tech Change for Game Studios. Bye. Peace. Bye.